In today's video, we're going to show you how to check the superheat and subcooling on your HVAC system to make sure that it's working optimally or to diagnose if you have an issue. So let's get right to it. So here are the items that you're going to need to check your superheat and subcooling. To start with, you will need a manifold set. You can get as simple or as sophisticated as you want. Being as I'm in the field, I use the Field Piece 3-port digital set, but you can use a very basic manifold set. I don't recommend getting a super cheap set. Get a good brand like CPS, Field Piece, Yellow Jacket. All of those brands are really nice quality and you don't have to break the bank. The other thing I recommend is getting some low loss hoses. Now you can get these separately, but I recommend getting them already attached to the hoses. Now for reference, this is what a non-low loss fitting will look like. It'll move freely like that. This is a low loss fitting. They do not move. They stay in one piece and they have a little apparatus in there that only lets a tiny little spurt of refrigerant out when you connect and disconnect the gauges. So these are what you're going to need. Absolute must is a manifold. I'll have links to these in the video description. Next, we're going to need a thermometer of some means to check the wet bulb temperature. That's going to tell us our target superheat. Now, I'm going to show you how you can use a regular thermometer like this with a wet rag to get your wet bulb temperature, and we will compare it with this tool. This is the Field Piece PRH2 pocket psychrometer. That tells you your wet bulb temperature without having to do anything special with a wet rag. That's going to help us to get our target superheat. So next, what we're going to need is some means of checking the temperature at our copper lines that go into our AC unit. Now I'll get into this book in just a second, but probably the most cost-effective means of doing that is picking up a temperature clamp. Now pretty much any multimeter is going to have these two leads. They're pretty standardized. And this little adapter will allow you to take a temperature clamp to plug it in, and then you simply go to the temperature setting and that will show you what your probe is reading. And this makes a nice solid connection on the copper and gives you a really nice reading. I wouldn't recommend trying to do this with something like this because you won't get an accurate reading. This is crucial in dialing in your superheat. Now, this book is amazing. It's made by Craig Migliacci, AC Service Tech. He has an awesome channel. I love his content, and this book has been a real lifesaver. So in terms of checking our superheat and finding our superheat, our target superheat, this book is really invaluable, and I use this all the time. But this has so much good information. I'll make sure and leave this in the video description as well, so you can pick up a copy. Perfect for DIYers, for HVAC techs getting into this trade, and even seasoned techs. You can brush up your skills with this book. Now, before we hook our manifold up to our AC unit and get our pressure readings, please be safe. Make sure you're wearing safety glasses and gloves. And one other thing that I want to mention is if you're handling refrigerant, like charging a system, you really need to have your EPA license. I'm going to have a video very soon on how to get that EPA license. You can pay a third party like $300. They'll give you all of the information you need, walk you through it, and it's pretty much a guarantee that you can get that license. Okay, so before we take our readings outside and hook our gauges up, the very first thing that you want to do is make sure that you have good airflow and a good clean filter. If you don't have a clean filter and your filter is super clogged, that is going to severely throw off your readings of your superheat and subcooling. Now, equally as important as your air filter is your evaporator coil. Now, if you saw in a previous video, we did a video on how to clean that evaporator coil. It looks like a triangle. Now, if you don't know what yours looks like, it's probably a good idea to go ahead and pull the cover off, take that little triangular piece, at least take a few of the screws out, and just see if you can get your eyes on the inside of that coil where the air goes through, and just make sure that your evaporator coil is not super dirty. If you have really good airflow coming out of the vents, odds are that evaporator coil is okay and you can proceed. So while we're in here, what we need to do next is we need to determine what metering device we have on our system. Now, this is what's considered a piston metering device. And what you can usually tell by looking at it is it will have the orifice size here. I like to put these on all of the units that I do. That shows that you have a piston. Now, if you have a TXV, you'll either see a TXV right here, and it looks something like this, or you'll see a little tube that comes out and attaches. There's a bulb that senses the temperature of this suction line, and you'll see that little wire coming out and attaching, and there will be like a bulge in the insulation. That's a good way to tell that you have a thermal expansion valve. So what that means is if you have a piston like this, we're going to be measuring our superheat. That's going to be the primary way of telling if our system is properly charged. And if you have a TXV on your system, you're going to be using subcooling as the primary way to check your charge. So let's go ahead and hook up our gauges. What we're going to do is we're going to hook the blue side that correlates with the low side gauge. We're going to hook that up to the larger vapor line, and we're going to hook the high side line up to the smaller liquid line. I'll give you a close up and show how we're connecting these. Low side is going to go right here. You want to thread these low loss all the way on and back it off just a smidge. Now we're going to do the same on the high side. All the way, and then back off just a little bit. And as you can see, we are reading on our gauges. Okay, so now that our hoses are connected, we're going to simply put our clamp on the low side here. So we're just going to try and get it as close to that service port as possible. Wiggle it, make sure it has a good connection there. Now this is going to measure the temperature of that line. And what we're going to do is we're going to subtract the number here. We'll show you that after we get this unit running. Now, to simplify all of that, we simply connect this clamp onto that same suction line, and it will give us our superheat. It will do all of that work for us and give us the superheat right there. So that's the beauty of having the S-Man field piece digital gauges, but you can do it easily with this. There's just a little bit of extra steps involved. All right, so we're gonna fire this unit up and we're gonna let it run for 10 minutes, and then we're gonna check our reading and see what our actual superheat is. And then we're going to find the target superheat of where we should be based on a couple of other parameters. So let's go ahead and get this unit running, and we'll come back in 10 minutes of this unit running. Okay, so our system has been running for about 15 minutes. Now, since we're checking superheat, we're going to be checking on the low side portion of the gauge. If we had a TXV and we were checking for subcooling, we would measure off of this, and we would take the temperature off of the high side instead of the low side. So again, this book goes through that very clear, and it's very concise. So on our low side, as you can see on this pink scale, this is 410A. We're at about 37 degrees. So 37 degrees there. And on our vapor line, we're measuring about 54 degrees. So always the vapor line should be higher than the saturated temperature, which is the readout on this scale here. As you can see, to find our total superheat, we're going to take the actual temp, which is the temperature of the line, and we're going to take the saturated temp, and we're going to subtract the saturated temp from actual temp. So that puts us at 17 degrees of superheat. So the next thing we need to figure out is what should our target superheat be so that we know that our system is properly charged. So we need to take a few measurements in order to make this scale work. First of all, we're going to take our indoor wet bulb temperature. Then we're going to take our outdoor dry bulb temperature. And we're going to see where these two lines intercede, and that's going to tell us our target superheat. All right, so the next thing that we want to do is get our wet bulb temperature. So as you can see, our field piece is showing about 52 This is showing about 53.6. So this gives you a good idea. This has taken a long time to get to that temperature. So that's a huge advantage with the field piece. It's pretty instantaneous. But if you have a thermometer already, you don't have to buy one. You can just take a damp rag and you can get that temperature. So just for reference, this, you know, still has some moisture in it, and it's not sopping wet, but it definitely still has moisture in it. Okay, so our reading was 53 degrees. We're gonna take that temperature and we're going to plug it into our Superheat chart. As you can see, our outdoor dry bulb temperature is 84 degrees. Let's just go with 85. So 85 and 53 is not on this scale. That's because my system is working like it should. Now, if you have a system that's not working like it should, this is kind of like a diagnosis of what's going on with the system. So this gives you a readout. If your superheat is too high, then you would add refrigerant. If your superheat is too low, you would recover refrigerant. That's if all of the other things that we checked, like the airflow and the coil and the condenser coils are clean. If all that's good, then you can follow this. Now, let's say it's really warm inside. It's like 77 degrees and our wet bulb temperature is more like 64, 62, and outside it's 85 still. We would go down and that would intersect with 8 degrees of superheat. So if we had 17 degrees of superheat, we would know that we would need to add some refrigerant. The same is true if we had low superheat. If our superheat was like 3 and it's supposed to be 8, we know that we have an overcharged system. So this gives you an idea of how to check the superheat and how to use it as a diagnostic tool. There's a lot of technical things with this, but I wanted to share this with you so you know how to check the superheat. The same applies with subcooling. Now, the thing we need to do differently with subcooling is we need to put this on the high side. So just move that clamp over. We're gonna wait for this to stabilize and see where we're at. Now, this has already stabilized. So again, if you follow this pink scale for 410, you'll see that we're right at 100 degrees. So we're gonna do the same procedure. We're going to take our saturated temp, which is what we just read, 100 degrees, minus the actual temp of the line, and that will give us our subcooling. So again, we have 100, maybe 101, and we're gonna subtract this, which would give us, that would be 11 degrees. Look at that. If you do not know what your subcooling is based on the rating on your unit, a target subcooling of 11 degrees may be used. So this system is working like it should. I can't get a target superheat, but I can use my subcooling, and that indicates that this system is working like it should. I'm not having any issues, but I'm just doing this as an informative type of video. Now, the same thing for subcooling. If our subcooling is low, we need to add refrigerant. Again, if everything else checks out, if our filter is clean, our coil is clean, our condensers are clean, that would indicate low refrigerant. Now, if our subcooling is high, we might have an overcharged system, and that will decrease efficiency of that system. So there's a couple ways that you can check if you have a TXV. Number one, you can go into the evaporator coil, and if you see that little TXV with a little wire coming off, you know that it has a thermal expansion valve. The other thing you can do is, if you see this needle fluctuating slowly up and down by a few degrees, that's a really good indicator that your system has a TXV. You can see mine has not budged from like 37 degrees, and so that indicates that this is a piston system, which it is. Now, while we still have our gauges connected, I want to show you how the best way of removing your gauges is. I'm going to go ahead and take this clamp off. So we're going to go ahead and start by removing the high side, and with the low loss fitting, you want to do this pretty quick. You'll notice how little refrigerant actually comes out. That's it. And here's what happens when you just take your gauges off of the unit. All of the refrigerant stays in these hoses, including 300 and some PSI of refrigerant in this red hose. Now, to mitigate that and to let that refrigerant go back into the system, all you do is open both of these knobs, and you'll notice right off that high side dropped from 300 all the way down to the same pressure as our low side. So in essence, what that just did is all of this refrigerant went into this manifold and got sucked back into the unit, allowing the refrigerant to not be trapped in this line set. So now we can go ahead and close both of these knobs and remove our low side. Well, whether you are a DIYer or someone who is in the field doing this for work, I hope you found this video helpful and informative. And again, I highly recommend this book. You can find this in the description below, as well as all of my favorite HVAC tools that we used in this video. Now, if your superheat or subcooling is off and you need to add refrigerant, make sure and check out this video right here. We're gonna show you how easy it is to add refrigerant to your system and where you can locate that refrigerant as a DIYer or as someone who is in the field doing HVAC. Until next time, you guys be safe. Later.